Why is Piers Morgan literally jacking off right now? He's doing the like just asking questions. Don't you think it's odd? Just don't you think it's a little weird?
The fact that they didn't get there on the roof.
And you can turn on MSNBC on any given day and they're talking about how they're all going to be arrested and taken off the air and what he's going to do to minorities and gays and everything else. All utter.
But when Donald Trump says fight, 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 like when Donald Trump says fight for our country back and the election was stolen, that somehow is not going to be interpreted by people to incite violence? Like, how do people literally not see the difference between like not acknowledging the reality of what happened on January 6th to just saying like, I just don't have any sympathy for someone who died while supporting Trump. Like, I'm gonna make jokes about it. Like, people don't, somehow people don't see the difference between those two positions. But dude, I hate these types of conversations because there is so many conservatives on Piers Morgan's show that need to be fucking dragged through the mud, especially on January 6th, dude.
Yeah, I would say this to you, Destiny. That's the whole ask Joe Biden last night. Has he had any soul searching? Right. I think after this debate, you may want to just go away quietly and think about some of the answers you've given and think about the double standard.
But he's not gonna make them face any accountability for what they said on this about COVID or J6. Like, I feel like I mentioned this earlier. Everyone has forgotten the meaning of the word condone or the word okay. I have never seen Destiny say that he condones the shooting or he condones political violence or that he thinks it's okay or he thinks that people should do it. I have seen clips of him saying the opposite. Yeah. But people, all he said is that he doesn't feel sympathy for someone who got shot while supporting, at least in his view, an insurrectionist. Which I can't say much on Twitch. Minar got banned just for watching it, but you know.
We don't know what's happened here. No one can yet give a legitimate explanation.
But you're clearly implying that it is odd. Yeah, go ahead. Tell me your lunatic conspiracy theory about how odd.
I don't have any.
If you say to me,
I've been told by many experts in the last 36 hours.
There's an entire cultural machine that has lied. There's an entire
cultural... in real time. That's it.
What?
That's why conservatives deserve absolutely zero sympathy.
You sound almost gleeful, Desmond. I'm sorry. That makes you, frankly, despicable.
I'm not going to get on my knees and beg for forgiveness or show sympathy.
I'm not asking for that. I'm asking you to condemn what happened as an egregious attack on democracy. Can you do that?
No, I won't. No, I won't.
You can't do that. You see, so why the hell?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Why the hell should we listen?
I wonder if anyone else on it. Actually, I don't know what Piers Morgan's opinion on January 6th is, but I wonder if any of them condemn Jan 6 as a tragedy of democracy.
I have to say, former President Trump is the king of the political comeback, but even by his own lofty standards, the past 4 days have been utterly sensational. After coming within a hair's breadth of assassination, last night he made a stunning return to the spotlight of the RNC. And for once, the gravity of the occasion was not lost on him.
J. Trump.
We are grateful for you to be our nominee for the 47th President of the United States of America.
Also, I like the gravity of the occasion was not lost on him. Brother, he was falling asleep during this.
But Trump hasn't made an entrance quite like that since he descended the golden escalator in 2015 to announce his first run for president. Bandaged and emotional.
Oh wait, fact check. Trump's eyes were closed during prayer. He was not asleep. My bad, guys. Fake news. Fake news. We pray for the families of those affected by demonic violence at a rally on Saturday. My bad, guys. The fake news.
He walked into the arena like a UFC star and got the reception to match. Well, the many people who've criticised security failings...
He was falling asleep in court, though.
...rally on Saturday were quick to point out that his detail this time round seems to be made up entirely of strapping men. But the focus of the night was undoubtedly Trump himself, a man who now looks like he's seriously preparing for a return to running the country. President Biden, meanwhile, fumbled questions about his own incendiary rhetoric in the lead-up to Saturday's shooting.
You called your opponent an existential threat on a call a week ago. You said it's time to put Trump in the bullseye. There's some dispute about the context, but I think you appreciate...
I didn't say crosshairs. That's what I'm focused on. Look, the truth of the matter was, what I guess I was talking about at the time was, there's very little focus on Trump's agenda.
Yeah, the term is bullseye.
It was a mistake to use the word.
It's obviously absurd to say that Biden's rhetoric is what fucking caused this, bro. I mean, there's the meme that we can bring up. I think we should unite in where am I again? Never mind. Say less, Mr. President. Maybe you made an argument for some of the Democrats' rhetoric, maybe potentially, but like from all the information that's come out so far, it seems like the guy probably just mentally ill. He was also Googling Biden's events. He was also Googling other like important people. He's probably just mentally ill. But I think it's totally fair to call Trump a threat to democracy based on all of Trump's actions and statements. I don't think Democrats should be required to back down from that.
Crosshairs. I'm at bullseye. I mean, focus on him. Focus on what he's doing.
What a pathetic excuse from, frankly, an increasingly pathetic president. Let's be crystal clear. Nobody thought Biden was talking about archery when he used the word bullseye, and he knows it. The presidential move would have been to say that everyone, on all sides, needs to dial down their incendiary rhetoric.
Do you think Biden... Does he unironically think Biden was talking about assassinating? Does he actually think that?
But this president hasn't looked
There's
presidential
no shot
for a long time now. One positive move Biden's made in the fallout from the tragedy on Saturday is to finally order the Secret Service to protect R.F. Kennedy Jr. The last thing America needs right now is yet more political violence, especially involving a Kennedy. Well, in a moment, we'll meet tonight's panel to debate all this, but joining me now is a former counter-sniper in the State Department and the current Florida Republican Congressman Corey Mills. Corey Mills, thank you very much indeed for joining Uncensored. First of all, I can't think of anyone better equipped in the political world than you to comment on what appears to have been a massive failing by the Secret Service on Saturday in their duty to protect President Trump. What did you make of it?
How long does he talk to this guy? I don't know if I really care about.
Now that talk about the idea of dialing down political rhetoric on both sides, as well as the dangers of utilizing words like "in the bullseye" or regardless of what he says he went to indicate. It's obviously.
I don't know how much you care
Finally
about
allowed
this.
him to have a Secret Service detail, which seems to me shamefully too late.
Piers, it's shameful, it's unconscionable the fact that an individual, just because he doesn't sit within a Democrat Party or Republican Party, is any less deserving of his safety and protection, especially a man who, as you pointed out, had his father and his uncle assassinated and killed, a man who has credible threats against his life from either side. The bottom line is... he's pulling out like 10%? If you're like a, let's say you're in the primary, you're pulling at like 10% as a Democrat or Republican. Do you get a Secret Service detail? Piers, is that this cannot be about partisan politics. If this individual is running for presidency, if he can tangibly show that he's at risk, why would you not allocate the necessary resources to keep this man safe?
Congressman Corey Mills, thank you very much indeed for joining me. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Piers. Honored.
Well, join me now as commentator and streamer Destiny, host of the Dave Rubin Show, Dave Rubin, co-founder of the Young Turks, Cenk Uygur, and the Outkick host, Charly Arnolt. Well, welcome to all of you. Cenk Uygur, we've spoken a lot about this presidential race over the last year. Where are we now with this? Is it right to assume that two things have happened as a result of this attempted assassination? One is that Donald Trump has got exponentially more popular because people feel a real empathy with him for what happened. And secondly, that
major presidential and vice presidential candidates are eligible for protection. I don't know, it just says major, but like, I'd be curious. Like, who was the last in a Democratic primary in 2020? The girl, what's her name?
More likely than not now to remain the Democrat.
Not Warren.
Nominee.
Yeah. So there's no reason to unilaterally surrender to Donald Trump now, but that's what it looks like the Democrats are doing. So I hope that they pick up the campaign to oust Biden again, because he's clearly not going to win. All the interviews are disasters. I don't want to surrender to Trump, but apparently Democratic officials are considering it, which would be just keeping Biden in the race. That is a form of surrender, because they don't want to waste any of their so-called talent because they're so despondent about the race. I think that's pathetic. They should fight. And if they have a new ticket, they still have a perfectly good chance of beating Donald Trump. Now, I do want to say, though, there's a second topic here. Your interview with Corey Mills, Representative Mills there, I think it was dangerous and wrong. So you guys said, oh, well, this shouldn't be a partisan thing and we should turn down the rhetoric. And then you implied that maybe the Secret Service or the Biden administration allowed the shooting to happen.
Well, no,
that's
nobody,
nuts.
no,
That's not turning.
nobody,
You
nobody
definitely
that.
did. You definitely did, Piers.
Well, I certainly did.
You kept talking about, oh, well, look, I'm not saying conspiracy theory, but hey, it's so easy to find. Why didn't they find it? And you didn't just say negligence.
Hang on, I didn't.
And forget about you, Corey Mills.
Right, okay.
He didn't say,
Just
oh,
to be
hey,
clear,
look,
okay.
He said, maybe it's not just malpractice. Maybe it's not just negligence.
I didn't.
Like, I'm trying to see if this girl got Secret Service. I would assume that she didn't, just because like she was not that popular. Probably not considered a major candidate.
What does
I
that
didn't
mean?
say that.
Is a lunatic suggesting?
Am I allowed to respond?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. First of all, I didn't say anything that you just said. Secondly, he did raise the spectre that there's something very odd about this. And by the way, there is. I'm not a conspiracy theorist either. But the idea that the President Trump, who was recently the President of the United States and is very likely to be again, was shot from 150 meters by a kid with an AR-15 who was seen by spectators nearly a minute before he unloaded 8 bullets in the direction of Donald Trump is very, very strange. And if you don't think it is, then I think you're being a little bit disingenuous. Now, what is the nature of that strangeness? We don't know what's happened here, right? But no one can yet give a legitimate explanation as to why this could possibly have happened.
Piers, if you say it's negligence, I'm with you. If you say it's malpractice, okay, I get it. 160 feet, why is he on the roof, etc. But you're clearly implying that it is odd, as in not negligence, but something that was planned by the government.
Dude, you know what I'm so glad that I fucking called? If we go to my Twitter.
I immediately, like, after the shooting, said clearly this was Israel. And then it's the Jews. Israel shot Trump to kill Nikki. Yeah, there were like so many people immediately blaming Israel and or the Jews. Like, yeah, because of the red bracelet that he wore. And also there were literally people taking screenshots of his fucking nose and saying it was the Jews. Like, holy shit. Another porn bot followed me. Let's go.
Oh, I don't know.
Hey, get out of here, man. What the hell? Jesus Christ with these lunatic Republicans. Total lunatic Republicans. Yeah, go ahead. Tell me your lunatic conspiracy theory about how odd
I don't have any conspiracy theories. Do you not think it's odd, Cenk Uygur, that this kid could stroll across a roof unmanned and just fire off 8 bullets at President Trump from 150 meters? Do you not find that odd?
So I find it deeply troubling. I think that there should be an investigation to see how they screwed this up.
Why is Piers Morgan literally jacking off right now? He's doing the, like, just asking questions. Don't you think it's odd? Just don't you think it's a little weird?
The fact that they didn't get there on the roof quicker it speaks poorly of them. On the other hand, can we acknowledge that the Secret Service surrounded the president and would have taken a bullet for him and would have died for him? But all they're getting now is odd conspiracy theories about how maybe. Aren't you like? Hold on, Piers. You tell me. Aren't you implying that they let it happen?
No.
Aren't you implying that?
No.
Obviously, what does odd mean? What does odd mean?
No,
Tell me what odd means.
I'll tell you what odd means. Odd means that the Secret Service's primary function is to preserve the life of whoever is president of the United States, right? And they allow this roof to be unmanned.
Allow. You use the word allow.
Okay, somebody made a decision not to have that roof patrolled, even though...
You don't even know that.
Hang on. Well, somebody did because it wasn't patrolled.
No, that's also not true.
But it is true.
Piers, we don't know the last time they looked at that roof. We don't know if they looked at it and then the guy crawled on.
Here's what we do know.
You mentioned,
hold on. There was
You-
nobody on the roof from the Secret Service. Why?
So you're telling me that you know that under
Didn't they? I don't know if we have all this information, but like my understanding was that they identified it as a security threat, but then I'm pretty sure they only put officers in the building and not actually on the roof. They just put them inside, which was definitely an oversight, but
Biden, Trump, and all the other presidents, that every roof had a Secret Service person on it.
Can you ever remember?
You don't know that.
Can you ever remember a president or presidential candidate who was a president giving a speech at a public rally where a roof 150 meters from his head is unprotected by Secret Service? Can you name once
How the
ever
hell would I know
that's
that?
happened?
How the hell would you, Piers? How the hell would you know that? You don't know anything.
I am told
so if you say to me, hold on. If you say to me,
I've been told I've been told by many experts in the last 36 hours.
Like that lunatic Republican you just had on, who's an expert.
Actually, no.
Talking about, oh my.
yeah, hold on. As officers began searching these for this specific person, Crooks made his way to the area of the ARG building. The sources said at the time the building was being used as a staging area for local police who were inside the structure. Yeah, local police were inside the structure, but they weren't on top of it, which is like obviously an oversight, but. The local authorities were tasked with securing that building, yeah. It wasn't the Secret Service that was in charge of that building, it was the local police.
I go, oh yeah, I'm not sure.
Well, he was
I don't
also
think it's just negligence. Then what does that mean?
Okay.
Then you think it was allowed?
Actually, the congressman.
Who planned it?
Actually, the congressman that I spoke to was on the sniper protection detail for Joe Biden when he was vice president. He probably knows more about it than you do, with great respect. Unless you're about to tell me you are a covert sniper protector, are you?
No, I'm telling you that we don't know anything about when they checked the building. We do know that there was a red-haired guy who talked to the BBC. He told the cops, then the cops showed up. It's not like they didn't show up. And so if you say, hey, we should investigate and find out when was the last time they did a perimeter check? When did they get on that roof? I totally agree. If you say negligence, I totally agree. If you say Trump was brave in that moment, I totally agree. But if you start implying, which you definitely are, and Corey Mills definitely is, that it was planned or that it was so odd that it happened, you're saying it like the Epstein thing was odd. The Epstein thing was actually odd. So the video camera's out. That makes me think, yes, there was something planned. I'm brave enough to say that. Instead, you're implying it, Corey Mills is implying it. So just say it then.
No.
Don't tell, what does odd mean?
Okay, again, I will say to you, I'm not saying anything was planned. I'm not saying there was any inside job at the Secret Service to allow this to happen. I am simply saying...
You're implying that. You get that, right?
Here's what I'm implying.
Here's
what I'm implying.
Oh my God.
There was such a catastrophically negligent failure here by the Secret Service. I completely understand why so many people are utterly bemused that this could ever have been allowed to happen. The idea you have a perfect vantage point over Donald Trump from 150 meters at a public rally, given how divisive and polarizing he is, given how vehemently some people hate him, and given the threats of violence he's had on many, many occasions, the idea that that roof remained unmanned by Secret Service is to me very bloody odd, Cenk. Yes.
Very bloody odd.
So you are implying that there is a chance that it was planned?
No, I'm not. I'm implying...
That's literally what you just said.
Literally what I'm doing is implying that there's something...
She's literally just jacking off. Just asking questions. Yeah. Don't you think it's odd? Don't you think it's odd that if Cookie Monster had 4 ovens and
We don't know about what's happened here.
that's what
And
he's
we need
doing
some
right
answers.
now.
We need some answers. I have no idea. I don't know. Now, let me go to some of the other panelists because we've expended a lot of energy on this. I think, Cenk, you have to go, so I appreciate you. Well, I appreciate you calling me a conspiracy theorist. Thank you for joining me.
Wow, what a productive conversation.
All right, thank you. Let me go to Dave Rubin. I mean, Dave Rubin, this is the problem. If you can't raise questions, serious questions about what's happened here, or suggest that it's odd without being branded a conspiracy theorist by people like Cenk Uygur, there's a bit of a problem, isn't there? I mean, it seemed to me not just negligence. There's something very strange about this whole incident and how it.
Didn't he just say earlier that I was implying that he didn't say it was more than negligence? I thought he literally just came off as saying I'm not implying that it wasn't negligence.
So, I've never seen members of the public nearly a minute before a shooting at a president raising the alarm and telling people the guy's on the roof. Have you?
Yeah. Well, Piers, I haven't been on camera with that guy in about 8 years, but I'm just reminded of the brain-piercing, serious headache you get listening to him. You just laid out very calm and cogent questions as to what happened to the man who is the ex-president and could be future president of the United States. There was either a catastrophic failure, which we're all acknowledging, or something more nefarious. All we can do is ask questions. The red-headed guy with the visor who was interviewed on the BBC saying that it was probably about 2 minutes, and we'll find out the exact details on that, about 2 minutes before where he was warning law enforcement that there was someone on the roof. Well, in 2 minutes, Piers, right now, I have an IFB in my ear. I have a microphone right here. That's what all of the agents around there have. And they're all connected to a network of people who are telling them where to look and what to do. I'm not an expert in this, but we all know this. Corey Mills happens to be an expert, and your interview was quite good with him. So the idea that 2 minutes went by and nobody looked at the roof, and by the way, the Secret Service director is now saying the reason they didn't have anyone staged on that roof was because there was a slope on the roof,
nonsense.
and they didn't want one of their agents to get hurt. I mean, I've got roofers out on my roof right now. There's a little bit of a slope. They have special shoes. They make it work. The whole thing is insane, but I would say at the political level, this has re-energized not just the Trump base, which was energized, but this new wide swath of disaffected liberals and UFC fighters and NFL players and just good, decent Americans to realize that Donald Trump is not the enemy right now. And this fake call for unity. Yes, I would like unity in a land of unicorns and everything else, but you can't on one day spend 4 years basically calling the guy Hitler and his supporters Nazi. Then he gets shots, and now we should have unity is just nonsense. I'm sorry.
And also for the current president of the United States to be asked, do you have any soul searching about the language you've used, given that days before this shooting, he told donors that it was time to put Trump in the bullseye, and then he tries to dance his way
I can't believe
out of this.
we're actually taking the bullseye quote seriously.
I didn't say crosshairs, as if somehow when you talk about human beings, bullseye or crosshairs mean any difference. Obviously, he didn't mean, I think Donald Trump should be shot. But obviously, if you're a deranged young lunatic with an impressionable mind, who the hell knows what that kind of language? We don't know yet, right? About any of the motivations. Apparently, there's a kind of very, very strange, a very strange lack of information that they've been able to find out about this young shooter.
Of course, but you also have to understand that there has been an entire media machine, mainstream media machine, and Democrat elite that for years, since before Donald Trump was president, have been calling him Hitler and his supporters Nazis. What would someone do if they truly believe that? I'm not directly linking this to Biden's bullseye comment, as irresponsible as it may be, or anyone else's specific comment. But over time in culture, if things get normalized, and yes, this man is going to put us in camps, and you can turn on MSNBC on any given day, and they're talking about how they're all going to be arrested and taken off the air, and what he's going to do to minorities and gays and everything else, all utter.
But when Donald Trump says fight, 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 like. When Donald Trump says fight for our country back and the election was stolen, that somehow is not going to be interpreted by people to incite violence?
Sweet nonsense. At some point, people might get a subtle message and then do something crazy. Again, we don't know if that was what happened right now, but we certainly can ask about it.
And I think to be completely fair, I believe Donald Trump has spouted a lot of very ill-advised and occasionally very dangerous rhetoric. And I want both sides to dial it down, because actually where this leads to is where it's led to. And in Britain, we've had 2 members of parliament in the last 10 years murdered by people for political reasons, basically because lunatics have wanted to eliminate them. Let me bring in Destiny, because you've been at the center, as you know, of a massive online response to what you were saying. And I want to go through what you said, and I want to talk to you about this hopefully in a calm manner to try and understand what you were thinking. So on Saturday evening, hours after the shooting, you said, let me clarify, when I say conflicted, what I mean is I lean towards seeing it as a natural extension of the thing Trump and the MAGA kids support. So I don't think I have much sympathy about the attempt enough to chastise people celebrating it. You couldn't find it in your heart to chastise people for celebrating the near assassination of a man who was president of the United States and maybe again?
Absolutely not. Conservatives have completely bled that well dry. And the idea that they, after engaging in the most divisive and most extreme rhetoric that this country's seen in recent history, that they would come on and beg for sympathy, that it's escalated into some kind of violent confrontation is absolutely insane. Even the idea right now of saying, well, if you call somebody a Nazi for so long, it's, what do you expect people to do? I grew up listening to Rush Limbaugh call Obama a communist every single day he was on the radio. You've got conservatives that talk about how the mRNA vaccines were ways to sneak microchips into us. You've got COVID lockdowns that were done because the government's trying to take all your freedom away. They won't acknowledge anything that happened on January 6th. They say that the election was stolen and that your country is being taken from you. Like, I don't think anybody should be killed. I don't think anybody should should go out and kill anybody. But when you engage in this type of rhetoric and when you turn the temperature up over and over and over and over again.
Yeah, like literally like the mainstream conservative position is that like the election was totally stolen. It's like if you constantly repeat the election was stolen, well, what the fuck do you expect people to do? Like,
there is absolutely no room for you to be shocked or surprised. And there certainly isn't room for you to ask for sympathy.
But you say you don't want anybody killed, and yet you say, I don't think I have much sympathy about the attempt to chastise people celebrating it. It's people celebrating the near assassination of Donald Trump. If you can't find it in you to chastise people who do that, aren't you just as despicable as the people that you've just spent the last 2 minutes haranguing?
No, because they've led the way. This is the environment that they've created.
So you think behaving like the people you think are despicable is the correct course of action?
Not about behaving like the people who are despicable would be leading that type of rhetoric. It would be denying every single bad thing. How many times as a liberal? How many times as a liberal have you been on a show? Not you in general, but like a liberal been on a show and you've been forced to disavow all of the BLM riots, disavow all the violence, and blah blah blah. And then you talk to conservatives about January 6th. That was
that's good. Yeah.
January 6th. Oh, like conservatives disavow January 6th?
Wait. First off, there's an entire cultural machine that has lied. There's an entire
in real time. That's it.
What?
That's why conservatives deserve absolutely zero sympathy for anything that happens as a result of their rhetoric. That's it. It's so easy. Like, it's so simple.
I'm not exactly sure what he's talking about, but I would say this is the type of person that the internet has broke their brain, thus leaving them with very little empathy for their co-human. I mean, a good, decent father is now dead because of this. He's had his brains blown out because he was defending his wife and daughter. I would hope that you have a little empathy.
What's up?
Let me jump in there because we have a clip of what Destiny has said about that very thing. Let's listen to this.
Oh no.
Fuck the dude, the firefighter guy, fuck Trump, fuck the people that support him. I just want you to know, okay, just in case you're confused or it seems like I'm, whatever. If one of you were in the crowd and you're a conservative fan of mine and you end up, getting blown away, whatever the fuck, I'm making fun of you the next day on Twitter. I am 100%.
I mean, I got to say, I just found that repulsive, Destiny.
Dude, I don't want to I at least didn't use the word condone, but like it's so absurd that like this is really that's repulsive. None of the other. He said worse things. Even I think he said it himself. Like he said way worse things about Palestinians, dude. Like. Who's the feminine figure on display? This girl? I don't know.
I wish that there is no room. There is no room for the hand wringing, and I will not participate.
Oh, it's not hand wringing.
The hand wringing. No, it absolutely is.
No, it's just that you are positioning yourself.
So well.
No, but let me explain to you.
Conservatives can say anything.
No, I'm not a conservative.
They can have any conspiracy theory. They can have any plot. They can do anything, and then liberals are supposed to sit here and be like, "Oh my God, it's so tragic."
No,
absolutely.
Let me explain my position because I'm not a conservative. I'm not.
True, it is Shakira.
Right? Here's what I think about what you do.
MAGA Shakira.
You like to fire off, as you've done so far in this debate, about your fury at how disgusting Republicans are, how inhumane they are, how they never have any empathy, blah, 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 blah. And then you yourself actually are exactly the person that you're describing. You are inhuman. You are somebody who seems almost gleeful that a young firefighter with a family, with a wife and children, who he was protecting as he was shot dead, that he deserved what was coming to him because he went to a President Trump rally, a man who was President of the United States until recently for 4 years and maybe again. You sound almost gleeful, Destin. I'm sorry. That makes you, frankly, despicable.
It's so... Destiny is inhuman, true. It's just so... Like, how do people literally not see the difference between, like, not acknowledging the reality of what happened on January 6th to just saying, like, I just don't have any sympathy for someone who died while supporting Trump. Like, I'm gonna make jokes about it. Like, somehow people don't see the difference between those two positions, but...
I don't think I'm gleeful about anything. I don't think anybody should die. I don't think anybody deserves to die. But you want to talk about...
Oh wow.
Look at the conservative response to Pelosi's husband when they broke in.
I can answer that.
Mainstream media figures that I don't care.
I can answer that.
I don't care what your answer is. The reality is that conservatives have been turning the temperature up on the rhetoric. They have been making fun of these types of events for years. And now when something happens to them, now they're looking for sympathy from the liberal side? Absolutely not. It's insane. It's unhinged. You can conduct yourself in such a manner and expect people to feel sorry when things happen.
Why should anybody on the right listen to a word of your hectoring and lecturing about how they should behave? And by the way, for the record, the mockery of Nancy Pelosi's husband when he was attacked by an intruder with a hammer was also despicable, right? I can see despicable behavior on all sides, and I'm happy to call it out when I see it. You, however, want to present yourself as this great kind of standard bearer of decency who sees outrageous behavior on the right time and again and is incensed by this disgusting, inhumane behavior. And yet time and again, since the attempted assassination of Donald Trump, you have displayed exactly the same kind of inhumane behavior. Fuck him about a fireman who is killed because he attends a rally of a guy he wants to vote for.
My issue with the MAGA kids is not that they are not empathetic. My issue is that they support a president that led an insurrection against the United States. I'm not here to tone police over their empathy.
80 million people voted for Donald Trump last time around.
That's great. 80 million people voted for a guy that tried to insurrect the government, and it looks like they might try to do it again. I mean, like, I don't know what to say. These are the facts on the ground. The idea that
so you don't like attacks on democracy. So presumably you would unreservedly condemn the attempted assassination of Donald Trump. Because that's
he literally said earlier that he doesn't support it, dude. It's just so...
Modern times. Presumably, you would take this opportunity, given you are so determined to protect the integrity of democracy, you would find it absolutely outrageous that someone has tried to assassinate a president, right?
If the other conservatives on this show want to say that it was absolutely outrageous
I'm
that Donald
asking
Trump
you.
to coup the government,
I'm asking you.
then maybe I would. Yeah, no, I'm not going to get on my knees and beg for forgiveness or show sympathy.
I'm not asking for that. I'm asking you to condemn what happened as an egregious attack on democracy. Can you do that?
No, I won't. No, I won't.
You can't do that. You see, so why the hell, frankly, Destiny,
absolutely not.
why the hell should we listen to a word you have to say
Wait,
about...
why do you think conservatives haven't been listening to a word that liberals have said about anything for 8 years?
Right,
What do you
but
think
why
is
should
gonna
they?
change? You think if
But here's my
liberals
point,
come out now and
Destiny.
they go, oh my God, this was so horrible.
But here's
They're
my
gonna go,
point.
wow, that is true.
Hey,
Maybe
wait a
that
second.
also
I mean, it does. It looks a little like Shakira. I can't play this on YouTube because I'll get fucking copy strike, but I guess it. I forgot Shakira. Oh, sick, dude. I'm gonna fucking turn. How is this shit on YouTube, man? I guess it looks a little like Shakira. Yeah. I wonder why you like that song.
Charlie, I'll bring you in at the end of this, I promise you, and you'll get a good chance to respond. But here's my problem, Destiny, with your whole position on this, right? Is that you don't actually have anything inside you that you want the other side to have. You don't have any of the empathy. You don't have any sympathy. You don't care that someone tried to assassinate Donald Trump. You don't care that a young...
Oh my God. He's just asking for he wants the other side to acknowledge reality. He's just saying that he doesn't have empathy for someone who doesn't acknowledge reality.
And the family was killed in the process. You don't actually... You are not the person you want these other people to be. And all you do is play whataboutery with every question I give you. And I'm just startled.
It's not whataboutery. We're talking about Donald Trump. We're talking about the temperature of this country. Here's a question for the two panelists. What percentage of this event happening was due to Donald Trump's rhetoric? What do they think the answer to that question is?
What percentage could it be that the other side, as we've just heard from Dave Rubin, has spent 8 years calling Donald Trump the new Adolf Hitler, a person who was responsible for the murder of 12 million people, including 6 million Jewish people in a Holocaust. Last time I checked, Donald Trump hasn't murdered 12 million people. So much as you would like him to be the new Hitler, he's not. But again, to an impressionable, young, deranged mind who has easy access to guns, that can be easily interpreted as an existential threat, said President Biden. Somebody that needs to be put in the bullseye, said Biden,
Okay,
only last week. And guess what? Somebody then comes forward and tries to kill the existential threat.
Who was engaged in more divisive rhetoric over the 8 years? If you had to assign a rough percentage.
Again, you're playing whataboutery. Again, you're deflecting. Just as Joe Biden did last night. Just as Joe Biden did with Lester Holt on NBC last night. Every time he was asked, "Have you done any soul searching about your own rhetoric, your own ill-advised use of language?" He deflected it back to attacks on Trump. And you're doing exactly the same thing with Republicans.
And I will do
you say Republicans are. You say that they are lacking in empathy.
When Donald Trump was saying Second Amendment people could maybe do something about Hillary Clinton. Like, no, it's absolutely deranged. The double standard that's being asked here is insane. And you heard both of them say it earlier. How much did Donald Trump's rhetoric contribute to the current environment? Oh, not much at all. Like, no, yeah, I'm not going to say anything to these people. Of course not.
You see, Destiny,
I'm unversed in any of the current events that have happened over the last couple of years. First off, politics is downstream from culture, right? And what has happened to our culture in the last 8 years? What has happened to our culture is that the mainstream media has lied about everything, always to the detriment of right-leaning people, whether it is with the Russia hoax or COVID or Brett Kavanaugh's
Russia hoax and COVID. Oh,
are racist, or Jesse Smollett was was lynched, or whether it was very fine people on both sides. Every single lie always goes against right-leaning people. So they are slightly annoyed and distrustful of people like you and other people in mainstream media who lie about literally everything. So perhaps
literally everything, like biolabs and Nazis in Ukraine, or like mRNA vaccines that are causing 20% excess deaths. There it is. Yeah, or the fact that COVID lockdowns are going to go on forever, which is an authoritarian abuse of power. Or yeah, of course. Like, come on, dude. Conservatives are masters of misinformation, and it's happening right here.
All right, let me bring in Charlie.
He doesn't get to fucking challenge him.
Thank you for being so patient.
Dude, I hate these types of conversations because there is so many conservatives on Piers Morgan's show. They need to be fucking dragged through the mud, especially on January 6th, dude. Like, dude, I don't think any of them would do it after the fucking Glenn Greenwald debate. Like, there were so many, like, Benny Johnson and Michael Knowles and maybe even Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro, to some extent, at least acknowledges. I think he said it doesn't qualify as an insurrection, but like, he acknowledges what was done as immoral or whatever. Yeah, like, I think there's so many people that need to be dragged through the fucking mud on this, but on the stupid, like, surface level Piers Morgan conversations, they just never. It's just there's not enough time. It just doesn't happen.
Things have obviously got quite heated quite quickly. Let me give you your chance now to have your say after what you've been hearing from Destiny.
Yeah, well, first of all, Destiny represents to me a certain subsect of the left, I won't call it everybody, who likes to bully others into saying exactly what they want to hear. And if they don't say it, then you all of a sudden are the problem. And they handle it exactly like he's been handling it on the show. It's like a child throwing a temper tantrum. You can't get a word in edgewise. They just kick and scream and yell until you ultimately say, I've had enough, just say what you want to say and back down. And that's exactly.
Dude, every fucking like conservative pundit on the Daily Wire needs to do like one of these 3-hour January 6th debates. All of them need to do it. Like, there are, like, yeah.
exactly what we see a lot of times from people on the left. And it infuriates me because just like we saw on Saturday with the near assassination of Donald Trump, which that is exactly what it was. It was an assassination attempt, yet we have, Dave, like you mentioned, all of the mainstream media putting out egregious headlines such as from CNN, Trump removed from stage by Secret Service after loud noises startles former president and crowd, which completely mistells what actually happened.
Here, this is the conservative, this is the game right now.
It is not accurate.
It's live right now. You know, Fox News.
Listen,
breaking
first of all,
news.
we are allowed in this country to ask questions. There was a lot of things that were very off on Saturday from the way that the Secret Service handled.
So, I love this country. God bless, I guess. Yeah.
You can see. There you go. He immediately
I know, yeah, here we go. Yes,
here we go. That is exactly the childish demeanor that I'm speaking about. On Saturday,
don't talk over each other. Let me just ask you this, Destiny. You were asked on that clip we played earlier if you'd have the same attitude if it was your parents who'd been killed at a Trump rally, and you replied, "It's less end-of-life cost for me. Would I lose sleep over it? No." Do you understand how grotesque that sounds?
It sounds grotesque, but the environment that we're in right now is grotesque.
But why do you want to sound grotesque?
You cannot engage in behavior that leads us to this point, that brings us to the precipice, and then say, wait a second, are you taking this a little bit too far?
Just to be clear, Destiny, if it was close members of your family or close friends who had gone to that Donald Trump rally and who'd lost their lives, one did, and two are critically wounded, if they had died there, you would lose no sleep over that. Is that your position?
No, of course I would be sad. It would be tragic, of course. And the closer they are to you, the more sad would be. The same way that if you had a child that tried to rob a store and the child got killed by the police, that would also be tragic and sad.
So you wouldn't think fuck them because they're your family then? You'd have a different rule for your own loved ones?
Would I feel more upset if a person very close to me died rather than a person farther away died? Yeah, I think the answer there is yes.
Yeah, but you weren't just just to be clear.
Yeah, it's just such a stupid argument, dude. Also, it's so funny to be like the conservatives like virtue signaling over these people like as if they fucking know them, dude. It's like you look like you're in a cult when you do that. Like when you try to like virtue signal super fucking hard about this stuff. Like it's fine to like make statements about it and condemn it and say, oh, I feel for the family, whatever. But like there's some people, especially when you're doing it to Trump himself, you don't fucking know Trump, dude. You have nothing in common with Trump. You just look like you're in a cult when you try to virtue signal so hard about that.
You weren't just not upset by the death of that firefighter who'd given great service as a firefighter to his country. You were gleeful and you said, fuck him. Fuck him.
I'm not.
Would you say fuck them if it was your family and friends?
He was a Trump supporter.
I would say that if they go to a rally like this and they support an insurrectionist president and something happens to them, I would feel sad at a personal level because they're my parents. But again, I learned from them more than anyone else. I grew up in Nebraska. You learn that if you mess around and if you do dumb stuff, that there are going to be consequences.
And would you be happy to say, you know what, fuck them? About your own
parents. His rhetoric is far more dangerous than I've ever heard anything that Donald Trump said. What he's saying right there. Yeah. He is saying you should have no empathy or sympathy for your fellow human. You know, we can all disagree. We can disagree about politics, of course. We can even disagree about how the media frames things and everything else. But he's basically saying show up to a rally and get killed. And that is absolutely psychotic. I'm sorry. And the other part of this that's strange when people are calling for unity right now is if this had happened to Joe Biden, if Joe Biden had been shot at and had part of his ear blown off, the very people calling for unity right now would be calling for the rest of us to be put in jail. So there's a strange asymmetry there as well.
And I would ask this.
The strange asymmetry was Biden trying to make a phone call to the wife of the killed firefighter and her rejecting the call and Donald Trump not even reaching out. Okay, that's the asymmetry. When you talk about it's just politics, this is the cancerous
Ryan from Family Guy. True.
Fooled everybody. It's not just politics to think that vaccines will kill you. Okay, I've got 3 dead family members from COVID. My mom won't get a vaccine. Okay, after both of them were in the military, these guys went up and down.
I'm not vaccinated.
Don't worry.
Dude, it's fucking wild. Dude, I'm not vaccinated, thank God. What about myocarditis? Watch him.
We can all tell. My parents went up and down the line when they did basic training for the Air Force. They got 20, 30
vaccinations.
Damn.
My dad has no myocarditis.
And the idea of not getting vaccinated was unconscionable to them until the conservatives spread these messages that are just politics.
Let me ask you this, Destiny.
The science has shown that the vaccine actually was one of the worst things you could have done for yourself. Thank God I didn't get vaccinated. I thank God every single day I didn't get vaccinated.
I don't want to get back into COVID, right? Hang on, Charlie. Hang on, Charlie. I don't want to get down into COVID again. I want to stick to this story. And I want to ask you, Destiny, about Elon Musk, who has responded to one X user who was calling for him to demonetize you on the X platform. And he said, you're right, this is not appropriate content for advertisers because of the offensive tweets you were aiming at Trump supporters. What is your response to Elon Musk?
The same response as it always has been. Elon Musk is a thinly veiled, I would say like anti-woke, anti-SJW, basically right-wing supported guy. And if you say things that they don't like, of course they'll demonetize you, they'll cancel you. Conservatives are some of the least principled people in the universe when it comes to freedom of speech. As soon as they have any power to demonetize or spam report somebody's sponsors or anything like that, of course conservatives will jump onto it. My account also was demonetized, I think in like 12 hours. Thank you very much, Elon Musk. Although I do notice that my docs has been floating around Twitter for 2 days now, and tons of accounts I've ever reported that haven't been banned yet, but I'm glad we got our priorities straight there.
Again, here's what I think we're all struck by. Your position seems to be that anyone from Donald Trump to his supporters who represents their thinking, their ideology, their political views, that if they are killed by an assassin at a rally, then they deserve what's coming to them. And in your words, fuck them. I mean, do you not understand that to most decent Americans and to decent people around the world, that is incredibly offensive and makes you look like a two-faced hypocrite, somebody who wants the other side to behave to a certain level of decency, but is himself incapable of displaying it?
The conservatives don't have it in them to have that level of decency.
So why don't you rise to a higher bar? Why don't you yourself show them? Show them the promised land, Destiny. Show them the way they should be behaving.
Have been doing it for 8 years. There's nothing to be gained there. So instead, we'll just have a laugh instead. When you're asking for this type of decency, you're saying like they did for Pelosi's husband, like they did for BLM people, like they did for the endless. He didn't die, but he got the crap beat out of him with a hammer, and they make jokes about his gay lover.
The jokes were disgusting. Why can't you say the same thing about the people making mockery of Trump? Why do you join the mob?
It's not just the jokes. It's the underlying substantive analysis as well. It's the lack of responsibility for January 6th. It's the lack of responsibility for the Gretchen plot. It's the lack of accountability for all the comments made by BLM protesters,
by your yardstick,
all of these.
By your yardstick, what the Republicans should do in response is simply say, "Fuck all of them. Fuck them all. Who cares?"
Piers, that's what you're not understanding. Piers, listen to me. This is what you're not understanding. You keep bringing this up to me. Like, well, Destiny, if you act like this, aren't conservatives just going to do? And then you say a thing, but they've done this for 8 years.
Right. So the other side is horrendous. Therefore, I'm going to be even more horrendous. It's so unprincipled.
The horrendous part about the conservatives isn't just the rhetoric. It's the underlying factual denial of reality. That's the huge issue. That's the big bad part.
Let me bring Charlie back to respond to that. Charlie.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the opposite. I think that, Destiny, you are completely fueled solely off of emotion, whereas I think that, I'll say conservatives, even though I think that it spans past conservatives, when they look at the facts of the summer of BLM, the BLM movement as a whole, January 6th, this assassination attempt, when you look at the facts, things unfold before your eyes, and they reveal themselves to be actually what they are. There's a lot of evidence that
Please. I would like... Like, if this was a better conversation and it wasn't cut fucking short by Piers Morgan, or it's not like necessarily like, these people are busy. I'm just saying, like, this is a very, like, obviously surface level conversation that they have in Piers Morgan stuff. Like, I would bet money that this woman would look just as bad as like fucking that cat woman, that the fucking Canadian that Destiny talked to in Twitter Spaces, who didn't like know anything about the fake elector scheme. I bet this woman would look almost as bad as her, if not just as bad as her. Maybe not. Maybe she's a respectable conservative commentator, but like, I'd be willing to bet, bro.
Has come forth since all of these events in the past have occurred. And they have shown that exactly what conservatives were saying were absolutely correct. Just like the assassination attempt on Saturday, we look at what went wrong. We look at not only was this one rooftop unguarded, but how did the gunman know that the rooftop was unguarded? Why was it that local law enforcement alerted?
Oh, now they're just asking questions about it.
You say there it is. There is actually a very good question.
Do you think January 6th was a false flag?
I think January 6th, there's a lot of discussions to be had. I think there's a lot of facts that came forward. There definitely...
I will never give sympathy to this side. These guys are destroying the country.
There were agents present. We know for a fact.
Here's your problem with me.
There were agents present on January 6th. We saw the tourists being ushered into the Capitol
building.
building.
The tourists.
Treated like terrorists. And in fact, several months ago, Vivek Ramaswamy said it's only fair that we're able to have a decent conversation about all this.
Let me say what I think about January 6th, because I wrote it at the time and I believe it today. I thought it was a shameful attack on the heart of American democracy. It was an attempt to thwart democracy taking place. It should never have happened. Everyone involved in any violent attack that day was utterly shameful. Donald Trump's rhetoric that day was appalling. All those things are completely true, Destiny. I can happily subscribe to that.
Neither of your other guests.
But here's the thing. If I'm a Republican, here's the thing, Destiny. If I'm a Republican listening to you, I'm thinking, hang on, this guy thinks we're all disgusting. We're reprehensible. We have no empathy. We have no this, no that. And yet he himself is proud of being even more disgusting.
Not absolutely. And then I would say, wow, well, nothing has changed from since before COVID, before the vaccines, before J6, when they thought the election was stolen, when they thought that we were forced into lockdowns for no reason, when they thought that George Soros and the World Economic Forum and the IMF banks and everybody were taking over the country and the Federal Reserve was devaluing the currency. Like, all this, nothing has changed.
Let me ask you this.
I'm curious,
oh my God, dude. He's shaking his head along too.
Were taking over the country and the Federal Reserve was devaluing the currency. Like, all this, nothing has changed.
Let me ask you this.
I'm curious,
one last question, Destiny. One last question for you.
Characterization of J6?
Destiny, one last question for you. Are you pleased that Donald Trump got shot?
Am I pleased? No, absolutely not.
What is your emotion to the shooting?
My emotion is emotionally what in terms of his personal health is absolute indifference.
No, do you condemn the shooter shooting Donald Trump?
No, not here, not on this program, not in front of these people. Absolutely
you do not condemn a deranged shooter shooting Donald Trump.
You are truly just a child. This is not.
Actually, it's not. No, you know what, Charlie? You know what, Charlie? It's not actually the behavior of a child. It's the behavior of somebody who's completely lost his moral compass and any sense of decency.
But none of they can't even have a conversation about J6. They can't even engage on that.
I'm going to go to Dave Rubin. Let me let Dave Rubin respond to what you just heard from Destiny.
I mean, it's actually one of the most disgusting things that I've ever heard in my life. My entire staff in my studio right now all gasp at that. When I happened to be at Target, the store Target we were checking out when I saw it on Twitter, and my heart actually sank. And I know that is the feeling of probably 200 plus, if not 300 plus million Americans, even many of whom would vote against Trump and do not like Trump and all of those other things. The idea that you can't show sympathy or empathy for that is so profoundly sad. I would also add one other thing here, which is that the reason you're so emotive and screaming beyond the Red Bull, and dude, just ease up, man, it's not healthy for your heart, is that you really don't have good arguments. So you're petulant and screaming as opposed to just trying to work things out. We're allowed to ask questions about these things, but I would hope that you would try, as Piers is pointing out, instead of always reaching for the lowest common denominator, and they're bad, so I'll be.
Bro, why not? You should set up a debate sometime.
I would hope
on J6. Let's see let's see with a better understanding of it.
We could try to be a little bit better than that. And by the way, I think that you're seeing that right now with the Republican National Convention. They're not going crazy over all of this. They're applauding the fact that Trump's there. They're rallying around the new VP choice. And I think you're going to see a wide swath of America that maybe didn't come out for Trump before, and they're not traditional conservatives.
I totally agree.
I think you're going to see them support Trump.
I totally agree. I'm saying to you, Destiny.
This. Oh, it's just.
Fuck him.
I'm not,
Would you say fuck them if it was your family and friends?
Because he was a Trump supporter.
Fuck him. Fuck him.
Oh, what did you clip that for?
I think it's more
What's up, Bandit? Welcome back.
Also said that Donald Trump is like Hitler.
Yeah, I would say
perfect cherry on top to everything.
For it and said he got it wrong.
Yeah, I would say this to you, Destiny. Lester Holt asked Joe Biden last night, has he had any soul searching? Right. I think after this debate, you may want to just go away quietly and think about some of the answers you've given and think about the double standard.
But he's not going to make them face any accountability for what they said on this about COVID or J6. Like,
there are no standards. The conservatives said there are no more standards in America.
You may or may not take my advice. You may or may not take my advice. I'm just saying, on reflection, you might conclude that the best way to persuade other people to behave in a better way is not to behave in an utterly degrading way yourself. That's all.
I think deleting a YouTube channel only takes one click, Destiny.
Right.
Yeah, right after you, Dave.
Okay, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you.
Play song, play. I can't play the. I played a little bit of the song. First of all, I'm gonna get fucking removed for sexual content. Holy shit! But we also just get copyright striked. It's so Jover, dude. It's so Jover. Where we're at in America, we can't have conversations about it.